Welcome to Joy Unfiltered. I'm Rachel, and this is a podcast about joy. Not the shiny, performative kind. Not the everything happens for a reason kind. This is joy as a strategy. A way to stay steady when life feels loud. A way to stay human when things are hard. A way to lead, love, and live without burning out or checking out. Some episodes will be just me. Some will be honest conversations with people who have lived their way into a deeper, truer joy. No fixing, no bypassing, just real stories, real tools, and room to breathe. Let's get into it. Welcome back, or welcome to, if this is your first time, Joy Unfiltered. I am Rachel, your host, and I know I say this every time, but I really am super excited today to have our guest on. We have so much good stuff to talk about because we have some similarities, but I think we're going to have a good discussion. So let me just get right into it. I have Jenny Cheifetz with me today. And Jenny is a vegan lifestyle coach and educator at the Flirty Vegan. I love that name. She is a mom, wife, and lives in New Hampshire. Guided by her ethics, she supports women who want to look and feel better through plant-based nutrition and lifestyle modifications. Woo! She helps clients maximize their health potential, reduce risk of disease, and glow from the inside out. And who doesn't want that? All while minimizing harm to the environment and honoring animals. Jenny enthusiastically shows that we can thrive on plants, and I believe it. She shares science, recipes, which I was told I need to collect some today, simple swaps, and support so clients can feel excited and encouraged to make lasting changes. In addition to coaching and facilitating workshops, Jenny is the host of the Flirty Vegan Podcast that showcases stories of inspiring vegans living with purpose. Oh my goodness, welcome, Jenny. I'm so excited that you are here.
Thank you, Rachel. It's so good to be here.
Yeah, well, let's just get right into it. Although I would love to know, so my very first question is, how did you come to the vegan decision, or has that always been part of who you are?
No, it was not who I was at all. Like most people, since we know the vegan population is very small. Like most people, I grew up with your typical American diet, meat and dairy and fish and all animal products at every meal. And for most of my life, the only thing that I ever considered was dieting. That was how I approached food, not as joy, not as fun and abundant, but as restrictive and punishing, really. So it's kind of a funny thing what veganism has given me, but we'll get into that in a moment. So I was doing the dieting thing, doing the obsessively exercising, and cortisol spiking my life away. And then something happened, and it was called the pandemic. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me for some reasons. So one night early into the pandemic, I couldn't go to my gym, so I couldn't do my back-to-back spin circuit classes, my boot camps, all those things. So I'm trying to do the thing in the basement at my house and juggling the homeschooling, just like every other person in the world. And I'm still tracking and counting and measuring and weighing and depriving and also binging. So that was my drug of choice for as long as I could remember, going back to the early teen years. So I'm scrolling through Instagram again early into the pandemic, and I see an ad that was so targeted to me. It's bizarre how that happens. And it was an ad for a 30-day challenge for a binge eating program. And it was a way into working with this particular coach, but it was a great low ticket entry point. And so I didn't even hesitate. I'm lying in bed by now. And it was supposed to be starting on a particular date. I think I was a day or two late to start it, but
Sure.
that was fine. I checked and I didn't even care. Whatever it was $30, so I didn't care really what was what I was going to admit. I'll make it up. It's fine. I'm a quick study. So I bought that program and started working with that coach, and I did more with that coach after the 30-day challenge. And that led me to do more and more personal development, which I'd never really done before. Uh, I thought I was conscious. I thought I was, I don't know, just like self-aware,
Hmm.
but I was not as I did the work and discovered these things about myself. And the point of that program was to relinquish the dieting life, to make peace with food and my body. And I began to do that. And so I continued to work with that coach because it was so profound. And eventually, that coach introduced me to her mentor, who was someone who's certified in life coaching. As I was contemplating that decision, I saw a nature documentary. Now, we like nature documentaries. I like watching, the Disney baby animals grow into big animals, and I like learning about the world. As I said, I like to learn, quick study. And I've also been a very good girl my whole life, the people pleaser, rule follower, which many of us evolved women
Hmm.
are coming to grips with and trying to surrender. However, this was a case of the rule following really suiting me. So I see the documentary, and at the end, the narrator said, okay, so the world is falling apart, the planet is burning down, and the thing you can do to help is go vegan, which I had never in my life considered. And I just spent an hour or two watching the planet succumb to devastation at the hands of humans.
Hmm.
And so the
Hmm.
guy is saying, if this bothered you, here's what you do. Take a personal, responsible action
Sure.
and go vegan. That's how you help. Since most of us can't go down to the Amazon and stop the logging industry or the animal agriculture industry ourselves, what do? We can participate in this way. Now, I am a firm believer, since I can't go back in time and ask my earlier self this kind of question, I just have to look from this position today. And I am a believer that had I not worked with the binge eating coach for 6 months,
And the
and
binge eating coach, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
yeah,
The
no, no,
binge
not at
eating coach
all.
was not, so that wasn't, she wasn't plant-based or,
Mm-mm.
okay, okay,
No. And we
okay,
didn't necessarily talk about specific foods. It wasn't like
gotcha.
meal planning or anything. It was just deal with your stuff. Like,
More mindset
yes,
stuff around
yes,
food.
like whatever
Gotcha,
your stuff
gotcha,
is, deal with it. And here's my formula.
sure.
And so when I saw that documentary and heard the message to go vegan, I was like, okay, I guess that's what I'm doing tomorrow. Like we're starting day one. And so in my typical frenzied, let's learn about everything because I didn't know how to go vegan, I started consuming massive amounts of podcasts and books because
Gotcha.
as one does, how do we learn things, especially during the pandemic when I can't congregate and find conventions to go to? I have to just find the material. So I found myself reading books, listening to podcasts, and I came across someone named Victoria Moran who wrote a book called Main Street Vegan. So I read that book and then learned that she had a coaching certification program. But now I mentioned that the binge eating coach introduced me to her mentor who's certified in life coaching. So now I've got two possibilities in my head. What do I do? Do I go that program or do I do this Main Street Vegan thing? And someone in my life said to me, I won't out that person here, but someone said to me, uh, I think the vegan thing is a bad idea. It's really narrow. You're going to come out of that with a certification to help people who already think about veganism with veganism. So that's very limiting. What about the people who want help with their self-esteem or their bad marriage or their uh, narcissistic parent. What do you
Sure.
do?
Sure.
So I went with the other coaching program, which I do not regret because it's all part of the journey and it was wonderful and it led me to the next step and the next step and the next step. So it all served a purpose, which led me to being in the most recent cohort of the Main Street Vegan Academy for vegan lifestyle coaching. So it took me a while to get there. I did get there, but I had to travel this windy road first.
Sure. As we all do, as we all do. So when you watched the documentary and you listened at the end when they said, okay, and this is what you can do, even though you didn't go into that certification right away, did you become vegan then? I mean, did you just
Yes,
cold
yes.
turkey? You just said that night, I am never eating another animal-based product again? Or what was your transition like? I share with you
Yeah,
mine as
yeah,
well, but
yeah, yeah,
what was
yeah.
your
No,
transition?
and look, that's the point of my podcast is also to hear people's vegan
Yeah,
journeys. So
yeah.
it's also fascinating. Uh, I actually don't, I don't have in my calendar going back to 2020 to know the date that I watched the movie, but I do know it was right around Thanksgiving 2020.
Okay,
So we had plans for Thanksgiving, not the usual one because it was COVID, but
sure.
we had a plan to go to someone's house who we were comfortable with. And I believe it was the day after that weekend. It might have been the Monday after Thanksgiving. I'd like to say it was, the moment I watched the documentary, but it might have been 4 days later.
Sure.
And I only knew of, I didn't even know personally, I knew of one vegan in my town. And it's just funny, like that's what you do. You know, the vegan, like that lady in the
Sure.
yellow house
Yeah.
is vegan.
Yeah.
And so I knew we had a mutual friend. So I had that mutual friend introduce me because again, like, yes, I can read the books and watch the movies and listen to podcasts. And this is why I'm a coach because there's only so much that other information can help. I do
Mhm.
believe, and I know you would agree, that working with a human and not even I wouldn't even think that in 2020 ChatGPT was a thing. Nowadays, yes, people can turn to chat and get meal plans and get all the advice on how to go vegan. I still don't think it replaces an actual human.
Sure.
So I reached out to that person and I said, "What do I do? How do I go vegan?" And she very generously and patiently assisted me. And then on that day, whether it was the day after Thanksgiving or that Monday after I shopped and got all the things, then I was like, it's day one, let's go.
So did you feel so many questions. So let me take it one by one. So your choice then, your transition into this lifestyle or into this way of eating, and we can talk about all the language and all of the stuff at
Yeah.
some point, was really, it really was an ethical decision. So you made this moral, ethical decision that you did not want to cause harm to animals or to the planet. And so
Yes.
this was going to be your contribution to that.
Yes. And what I like to share with people is that I have never been a tree hugging, peace loving, pineapple kind of person. I we barely recycled. I'm outing us right here. We had geothermal in our house, so we felt like, well, that's a really big assisted, a big, I don't know, like you said, contribution to the world.
Yeah.
So everything else, like, do I need to recycle? Do I need to really care about the environment? Again, I'm not throwing trash out my car window, but I wasn't your typical environmentalist. I wasn't lobbying for anything. I wasn't picketing anything, but I somehow saw that movie and it just triggered something really big. And I do believe it's because I had done so much personal healing that I was able to kind of separate myself and this whole dieting vanity baloney and say, "Oh my God, what is going on in the world? And this is horrific. And it doesn't even matter what size my jeans are. This is so much bigger than me. So if that means not counting calories and eating the 4-ounce piece of white meat chicken, I'm good with that. I don't even know how much fat is in tofu. I don't know how much fat is in beans because I don't care. Now, that being said, I did spend the first 4 years of my vegan journey not caring so much that it was very altruistic and to the point of martyrdom. Like, it doesn't matter what happens to me and my health as long as I'm not eating animals and harming the world. So I ate all the vegan junk food. Because it was cruelty free. So I ate everything that was presented to me that was, quote, plant-based and animal free, which was not the best choice for my health or my figure. So someone asked me the other day, "Oh, you're vegan. Are you skinny?" This was someone over the phone. And I said, I didn't tell that person, but I'm thinking to myself, I'm so offended by that question. It's just such a terrible thing to ask. Um, no, I'm not skinny. I am prioritizing my health now
Mhm.
alongside my ethics, which I didn't know was a thing. Now, people who went vegan in the 70s were probably skinny and healthy because there wasn't such thing as Ben and Jerry's non-dairy ice cream.
Or
But
tofurkey or all the things,
yeah,
or what is in my freezer right now that not honestly I don't eat very often, but I mean I love
I have it all.
I love the fake chicken nuggets, whatever it is,
Yes,
right? I
I
mean
have
it's
the
yeah, yeah,
Gardein, steak bites, and I have all of those things. But I'm much more conscious and strategic about
sure.
how I eat and for vitality, for longevity. It's not for a size, it's for health promotion. I don't want my kids to be, wheeling me around and having to lift things for me because all my mobility and flexibility is gone. So it's like I can care for myself and all the other living beings. It was the compassion that was taught to me through veganism. I learned I could apply to myself.
I love that. Well, and I love that. So let's just sit with that for a
Yeah,
second. But I love some of the things, the clarifications that you said as well, because one of the big misconceptions I think, and I tend to use the word plant-based a little bit more than vegan, and
sure.
we can talk about why.
Yep.
But eating that way doesn't necessarily equal or equate to healthy because
Hmm.
there is, and especially, and I would say, because I've been vegetarian for 25 years ish, that, and even 25 years ago, there just wasn't as much junk food
Of
that wasn't,
course.
the plant-based junk food. So just being vegan or being plant-based doesn't necessarily mean healthy, right?
Right.
It means, you're right, not destroying the earth quite as much, or not destroying the earth, or harming animals for sure, not harming
Yes.
animals, but it doesn't necessarily equate to healthy. So that is one thing that we just need to get out there. You can eat. I mean, there's plenty of crap to eat,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily always like to put negative connotations on food because it just is. But there are some things out there that isn't actually food,
Right. I
right?
mean, I think people would agree in general that if you were to survive on potato chips, Twizzlers, and Coke, that's not a great choice for optimizing your body.
Correct.
But
Correct.
I'm thrilled that a lot of the things exist. Not all of them. I do think some things are just absolutely toxic and shouldn't exist. But for the most part, I'm thrilled that Beyond and Gardein and Morningstar and a lot of these and the Ben and Jerry's non-dairy and all the other Planet O, everything. I think it's so great that it exists for people who aren't prioritizing weight loss, cholesterol lowering, diabetes avoiding. If you want to sit on the couch, binge watch all day long, do scratch tickets, and eat junk food, but you're going to do it plant-based,
You can.
I'm throwing a spiritual party for you.
Yeah, right. Because you're doing it for those other reasons. And I think you
Yes,
were saying something, and I had a thought, and now I missed the thought but it'll
I do.
come that will come back
I
to
do
me.
that all the
No,
time.
but I think, but I also I love this. space that you and I entered this space from really different realms. But I do think that after years of eating in this way, that we all come together in some sort of middle-ish space. I mean, I entered it more from well, I actually became vegetarian because it was a dare from my ex-husband. He's like, I bet you can't go a month. I'm like, I bet I can't.
Yeah.
And then I just never went back. But for me, it was more from the health perspective, health side of things.
Mhm.
Um, and my transition to 100% plant-based was really slow. So I was vegetarian, and then everything just I kind of morphed, not morphed. It was a long transition, like
Yeah.
a 20-year transition to this plant-based space. But and along the way, after watching some documentaries, and we can get into which ones we love and which ones I can't watch again, but
Mhm.
it was then about, yes, do I care about the planet? Do I care about animals? Do I care about the rest of these things? Yes. But so I love, as in most things in life, that we can come from different spaces, have good conversations, and then kind of be in that same space together. The question I have, and well, I've got lots of questions that I've kind of written down, but one of the things for you for sure is, so did you feel like once you chose to go 100% plant-based or 100% vegan, that whole binging, did it start to heal that relationship that you had with food, or did that happen before with the coaching that you were in?
Yes, it happened before,
Okay,
which is why I think I was able to do this
gotcha.
so seamlessly, is because it didn't it didn't show up in the context of a diet. And I'm a firm believer, like I said, before working with that coach, if someone had said to me, want to try vegan, it would have been just another thing. Oh, well, I haven't done Jenny Craig yet either. So when do you want to do
Just
that? Yeah, let's first do Jenny Craig, then we'll do vegan. Like it would have just been an experiment to see how much weight I could lose.
sure,
But
sure,
yeah,
sure.
but because I had done all of this growth and healing and evolution, when it came on my radar, it was like, oh my God, why is the whole world not seeing what I'm seeing?
Yeah. So, and when you made that choice, because you came to it from, or not because, but you did come to it from that ethical stance of things, do you embody the whole vegan lifestyle, like no leather, no usage of any, well, leather is the big thing for the
Right,
big thing
right.
for me.
So I
Because
love
I use
when,
leather. That's why
yeah,
I
yeah,
say
yeah, yeah.
plant-based instead of
Well,
vegan.
and I'm going to give you some grace on that one. Hold on.
Yeah.
Um, so Dr. Michael Greger, who a lot of us health nerds obsess over, I love how he talks about the kind of the the better spectrum. And I just think it's important that we do better than how we used to do things. So I am a believer in also not wasting,
Hmm.
like nonsensically wasting. So I had a closet full of leather shoes, not all leather. I mean, of course, we all have some canvas shoes and some pleather shoes, but I had a lot of leather items in my possession. As someone who cares about the world, like I just said, it would be absurd to then throw all those things out, even if I was donating them, but to now have to replace all of them, that just seemed wasteful to me. That just
Hmm.
seemed unnecessarily uh, expensive, frivolous. So I have kept things. Now I believe in um, basically like driving it into the ground. So I'm going to wear my Uggs until they are not wearable. And when I wear them, I acknowledge. I'm not saying I sit and say a prayer every time I get dressed, but in general, I do periodically acknowledge the items in my house that came from animals. I give myself grace because I purchased them before I knew otherwise, and I highly recommend you do the same. And I give myself grace for using them because they're already in my possession.
Hmm.
And now I know better. So the next time I need a pair of sneakers or a pair of boots, I'm conscious about where they came from. So there is leather in my house. There is suede in my
Mhm.
house. And I am fully aware of the crime, the pain, the cruelty that went into bringing that into a store to land in my house.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. Um, so you make this, I'm going to transition just a tiny bit. So you make this transition in November of 2020, and I'm assuming you were married and had kids at that time.
Mhm.
So what did your family say?
So my husband, I think, saw it kind of like your 30-day challenge. So he joined me for a little bit. We disagree on the amount of time that that actually was, several weeks, let's say. And my kids were young teens, young mid-teens at the time. So they lived in my house. I mean, they weren't going out and buying their own groceries, but I still succumbed to their wishes. So I would buy the Cheez-Its. I would buy the ice cream that they wanted. Um, it wasn't until the last year that I put my foot down and said, I'm not buying it. I'm not preparing it. I'm not cleaning it.
Mm,
And I really don't even want to look at it or smell it, but sometimes I am stuck because I have shared space with other
mm,
people.
mm, mm.
Uh, it, and also I go out into the world. So I'm aware that the majority of the world does not see things the way vegans do. I do walk around supermarkets and have to see flesh and carcasses and secretions. I do go to restaurants and watch other people consume food that I don't look at as food because I choose to engage with other people. But if I could design a perfect world, there wouldn't be any of this.
Yeah, gotcha, gotcha. So what advice? Well, I'm gonna hold off on that for a quick second. So, okay, you mentioned that you started when you were transitioning or learning all about this new lifestyle. You read books, podcasts. What are some? You mentioned Victoria Moran already. What
Yep,
are other ones that you're like, oh, this was really good. I really liked this one, or ones that you would recommend, or that you do recommend that other people
totally.
watch, listen to?
Um, I do think people should listen to my podcast now.
Of course they should. The
Yes.
Flirty
Uh,
Vegan, and
yes.
we will for sure put
Mhm.
the link in the
I
show
know.
notes. So yeah.
Now, it's funny. As much as I went into it with the ethics, there was that, like I said, recovering dieter
Mhm.
within me that I, still have to nurture from time to time. And so I did seek out plant-based health information. And I found the Exam Room podcast
Mhm.
right from the beginning of my journey. So I had vegan like the ethical stories and things that I was getting from, say, Victoria and Victoria's podcast, which is like, oh my God, I don't know, 14 years old or something like that, 15 years old. So I did listen to Main Street Vegan for more anecdotal. Still, there was science, there was stuff like that. It
Sure.
was educational, but I got a lot of the ethical values from her. Whereas the Exam Room is predominantly, every once in a while, there's a surprise episode, but it is usually about nutrition
Mhm. Mhm.
and the impact of plant-based versus animal-based foods on the body. So I found the Exam Room. I still listen to the Exam Room religiously. I I at some point found the NHA, the National Health
Mhm.
Association
Mhm. Mhm.
podcast. Dr. Greger
Mhm.
has a great podcast with very short episodes. Um, I mean, I started going down different rabbit holes. Like when I really got the health focused, which ebbed and flowed. I mean, I say that in the last year I started to focus on my health, but there were periods during the whole vegan journey that I dove into that and then jumped out. So I found crispy cancer is um very health focused and empowering
Yes.
and sometimes admittedly it feels extreme. I don't want to juice 100% of the time. I don't
You wish
want
did
to.
she start off as the green goddess or the
So it's a guy.
Oh, that's
crispy
not who I'm
cancer.
thinking of. I'm thinking of Chris Carr, I think, who
Oh, I
is
don't know that.
okay.
Okay. So this guy, Chris, there's his approach, or he interviews people, but it can be very focused on raw and
Mm,
juicing and
mm.
it's to heal disease. Like that's the point of, so when I'm worried about something, if I hear that somebody has thyroid cancer, then I'll turn to crispy cancer and now search up thyroid cancer and see if there's any episodes because I want to go down that rabbit hole. Um, Melanie Joy is amazing. She wrote the book Why We Love Dogs, Eat Pigs, and Wear Cows. So there's a lot of her content out there. I found Colleen Patrick Gaudreau, who is
Mm.
known as the Joyful Vegan.
I don't know if I know her. I
Yep.
probably should. Okay.
Yep. She's written a bunch of books and she will be on my podcast at one point. Um, so she's very, now she's got a lot of health focused information, but what she writes can be very ethical. So I found a way to get both of those like veins of information coming in.
Sure, sure. That is so interesting. I've been taking
Isn't that
notes now, Jenny, about some of those things. Again, interesting how we came to it from different aspects, because I think I came to it from more of the health thing. And some of the ones that that I think about are definitely forks over knives. But did you see the documentary? And I can't remember what it's called. Maybe it's just called Twins. Um,
Yep, the twin study one.
Yes. Oh
It's
my
not
goodness.
it's not called twin. It has a different kind of name. It's an intriguing title and I
Yeah,
can't put my finger on it, but yes, I did see that that 4-part series on the twins.
yeah. For
That was
those of you
great.
listening who haven't seen it, and I'll look up what the name is and put it in there. I just thought it was it was four
Yeah,
sets of twins, and they then go, and I don't know how long, if it was a 6 month study or something, but they had one of the twins on a plant-based or a vegan diet and one of the twins not, and then had them on there. And then it was interesting to see and this was from the health perspective again,
yeah,
but to see the differences in their biomarkers throughout the course of 6 months. And I found it fairly fascinating. So, but
yeah.
again, I like to see the ending because it was, pro plant.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, one of the earliest once I started after that decision, then I was like, I need to consume what's out there. And so yes, it was Forks Over Knives, What the Health,
yeah,
and
what the
then I
hell?
forget which documentary shows the firefighter, the Rip Esselstyn firehouse, where he put his
Oh yeah,
whole,
I can't remember if that was,
I
or
don't remember which.
was that engine two just by itself?
I don't remember, but that was so powerful where you took a
Mhm.
bunch of like macho firefighter guys in the firehouse and saw their cholesterol plummet and their blood pressure and their weight and then on the flip side their energy skyrocket and their complexion and their vitality, vivaciousness, and it was just that was very compelling.
Yeah, I liked that one as well. So I listened to his podcast, Plant Strong, and I think he does
Yes.
such a good job. And now John something. There's a he's an Iron Man, but he comes from a really, really rough background, and every other word in his vocabulary, I think, is profane. But he, and I can't remember what the book is too, but so I love, but he talks about it from such a male, really dominant male perspective in terms of this isn't just fluff. John something, I can't
Yes.
think of his name. He
There's
played, it was in some really hardcore bands or something. So he
okay.
lived this really hardcore lifestyle, but love the fact that again you get all of these people that break the stereotypes, like I think
Hmm.
Rip does in terms of the firefighters. John, and
Yeah.
John Joseph, something, maybe it's just John Joseph is his name,
Oh,
talks about that as well, to say, you know what, this isn't just fluffy tree hugger, that. And he talks about it both from the health perspective, John Joseph does, from the health perspective, and also from the ethical vegan perspective
Yeah.
as well, which is so delightful. Although I don't
Mm.
think that word would ever be attributed to him. Again, I'm going to reference him in the show notes, but what a fascinating space that we can all be in this together, and that all of our efforts, then those of us who are choosing to eat in this fashion, can provide, and I'm going to bring it back to joy, can provide joy to the
Yeah. Yeah.
joy to the world, right? So that
Right.
joy to our
Right.
own bodies, because I do
Yep.
believe that from the health perspective, we are nourishing ourselves in
Sure.
a way that is more helpful, but also then that we are contributing to the health and well-being of animals and the planet.
For sure. Yeah. I do want to give another shout out to Real Men Eat Plants. That's another one that I just recently came upon and was just so excited because it's a circle of dudes talking about being vegan. And it just, yeah, it's so supportive to men on the journey. But I enjoy listening to their conversations. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, one of the things that I was tasked with as I was coming on, and I told Jenny this beforehand, but so my fiance was like, maybe you can get some recipes and stop just cooking like tofu and broccoli. I'm like, well, I know not that great of a cook and I'm not that imaginative. The getting into kind of the things that you do and how you coach and what you have to offer as the Flirty Vegan. Are
yeah.
there, I mean, do you have things on your website? Are there suggestions, or perhaps what are your go-tos in your household besides
Yeah.
tofu and broccoli?
And before I share some actual
Sure.
food items with you, I just want to comment on the joy thing because as I had mentioned in my 30 plus year dieting journey, food was not joyful. It was
Mm,
not, it did not feel light. It did not feel exciting. It felt heavy. It felt dreadful. And it felt critical. And so this choice has led me down a path of joy that I'd never experienced before because I always feared what is this? What is that one meal going to do for my body? How am I going to fit into my jeans tomorrow? And will I look puffy? And is that a good choice? Did I have too much of it? And none of those thoughts cross my mind anymore. And I'm
I
not,
love
again,
that.
not all vegan food is healthy. So I could have an Impossible Burger and fries and look kind of puffy tomorrow because there might have been way too much salt, way more than I'm used to. So, there is that, but going through the journey that I did with the binge eating coach and then stepping into this very compassionate, loving, joyful stance has made food fun. Even if it's not super exciting, even if it's not uh, super creative, it's it fills me with joy knowing my food didn't harm anyone. So
I love that. And one of the things that I don't get to talk about very often, because I'm not I do tell people I'm not a pusher. This is my choice and this is how I choose to live. But one of the things that makes me feel good as well is that I'm not eating fear, because I
yes,
think about, and I don't like to think about, but clearly when animals are being killed, that they secrete, I mean, we all are going to secrete
yes,
those hormones or those
yes,
all those chemicals
yes,
that happens when we are afraid. And so I'm no longer consuming that
yes,
either,
and
which
that,
again makes me feel joyful. And I think it's both that I know in my brain that I'm not consuming it, but my body knows that I'm not
yes.
consuming that
And
as
I
well.
truly believe, and I have interviewed people that have spoken to this from a scientific standpoint. It, there is a massive connection between the food we eat and our mental health. And so to me, all of the anxiety and depression that I see in the greater world, as well as in my community, in the amongst the people that I know, I think to myself, okay, I'm not so naive to think that going plant-based is putting on a bulletproof vest for all medical conditions. But when you think of the vibrational stuff, the not consuming fear, death, torture, separation, all of those feelings that because these animals feel just like we do. So when you take a calf away from its mother, both of those animals are enormously pained. And so whether you're having the dairy from the mother or the veal from the baby calf, you're consuming their sadness, their grief. And I feel like it's just so obvious that it's manifesting as all of the mental health issues we're seeing so prevalent. And so I just feel like, well, duh, if you want to feel happier, eat happy food. Again, people say to me, you can't simplify it that much that vegan is a cure-all. And I said, no, it's not a cure-all, it's a cure something. It's a
Yeah.
cure something. And I guarantee something in you will improve if you took out that category of pain from
Yeah.
your diet.
Yeah. I'm we are on the same page.
Yeah.
We're on the same page. And that's so talking about that then
Yes.
let's transition into like what are your go-tos?
Okay.
What
Yeah.
are your favorite
So,
easy things to make for people who are not gourmet chefs?
yep. And I think a lot of it is just tiny tweaks. So, for breakfast, I know a lot of people who like to have cereal or oatmeal or kind of granola parfait. There are ways to just swap out. So, if you're having an oatmeal bowl, I mean, the simplest thing is just to swap out the milk.
Yeah.
And there's countless non-dairy milk options. So you can make this huge, plentiful, vibrant, nutritious bowl with oats, plant-based milk. I put canned pumpkin, berries, hemp, flax, cinnamon. I load it all in. I have this huge bowl, and it's so satisfying. It's so filling because all plants have fiber. So you're not getting that from your white meat chicken or your egg whites. You're getting fiber, which now, if you do have some diet culture tendencies, well, you're full now because you didn't just have a Dannon non-fat yogurt, which is not filling.
Yeah. All right.
Might be 100 calories, but it's not filling. So my breakfast now might be way more calories than someone feels comfortable having, but I'm not picking because I'm not grazing because I'm not still hungry. So there's just much more of a satisfaction when you have fiber-rich food. So that could be a smoothie. And if you're having a smoothie, the plant-based milk, so much fruit, so much fruit. No one should be avoiding fruit because they think, oh, they're natural sugars. Yes, they're natural sugars. They're not added sugars, like what might come in your Starbucks coffee or what show up in your yogurts and whatever the packages of stuff people eat.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, have fruit, spinach, again, more of those seeds, the chia, the flax, the plant-based milk. Sometimes I'll throw beans or something
Mhm.
kind of, out there into my smoothie because you don't end up tasting it because something like berries are so strong in flavor.
Right.
So smoothies can be very nourishing. Um, I'm actually not like a super creative, fantastic chef. I mean, I'm good. I feed myself. I'm very happy with what I make. I follow a lot of recipes or I get inspiration from a lot of recipes, and there's so
Sure.
much available on Pinterest, and there's great cookbooks like the Fiber Fueled cookbook from Dr.
Hmm.
Will Bolsowitz. The I can never remember her name, but the one Carly who wrote Plant You, which is, I mean, she's got like 6 million followers on Instagram, so her cookbook is very successful. She's written a couple. I interviewed Chef Bailey Ruskis for my podcast. She's written a couple of cookbooks. One of them is Breaking Up with Dairy. So there's a lot of good content out there, but I'm a big fan of batch cooking things, the components that could go
Gotcha.
into a bowl.
Hmm.
So I always have brown rice mixed with lentils. I do that in the rice cooker together. Just to
Love
bump
it.
up my brown rice, I started adding lentils to it. So I have my brown rice lentil combo. I will air fry the little mini potatoes. that you can buy
Oh, yeah,
in
yeah. Hmm.
multicolored.
Hmm.
I'll batch air fry the huge whatever the bag is. It's a 3 pound bag or whatever. It's
Sure.
maybe it's just a 1 pound bag, but it's a lot of potatoes. So I always have potatoes. I will again on the better spectrum. I know some people have issues with cans, metal. I I don't have metal toxicity, so I use cans. Cans are a lifesaver. So I always have canned beans, canned tomatoes. Um, I will also batch cook air fried tofu. Air fried tofu. I
Hmm.
just eat. Sometimes I'll take the time to slice it. Other times I just crumble it up, add spices, air fry that. So I can make those Buddha bowls.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I mean, sometimes it just comes down to the right sauce. Sometimes you can buy them if you don't have an issue with salt, really is the main
Hmm. Hmm.
culprit
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
packaged things. But you could buy these vegan peanut sauces and gochujang and different things that if you make noodles and vegetables and throw a can of beans or tofu, and then now you've got kind of a stir fry or a lo mein that you would have gotten from a local restaurant. So there's a lot of, I do a lot of variations on the same thing. I do a lot of soups, chilies, stews, where I just throw everything that's in the fridge in the pot and maybe change up the seasoning, go from like Mexican flavors to Asian flavors to Greek flavors, and it becomes a different meal.
Yeah, and that's what I think for sure. I mean, I joke a lot about, although we do eat a lot of tofu in this house.
Love it.
But changing up the seasonings is for me the lifesaver piece of it. I
Yeah.
think the more challenging thing once in a while is making sure that we're getting enough protein. Especially as a woman of my age, I want to make
Yes.
sure that I'm getting enough protein as
Yeah.
well. So like in like thinking through those things. But for me, spices is I'm not a big sauce person, but spices are a huge
Yeah.
thing just to switch that up. So
And sometimes you could take the same food and prepare it differently. So,
yes.
like, you could take potatoes, you could do potatoes a million different ways, or you could take tofu and you can crumble it, you can air fry it, you could stir fry it, you could throw it in the blender and like
Oh,
pulverize it.
I make this really awesome vegan chocolate mousse with my
Right,
yeah, my fiance is like, "What? That's tofu?" I'm like, "It's tofu."
right, exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. So there's so many, sometimes, it's just preparing it differently, spicing it differently, using a different appliance, whether it's the
Mhm,
air
mhm,
fryer
mhm.
or the what do you call it? Like a saute pan or
Right.
the oven, or there's so many different ways to have the same thing. So even if you do like tofu and broccoli, you can do it differently.
Yes. And we do eat a lot of tofu and broccoli in our house. So, oh my goodness, I feel like we could talk
I
forever
know.
about
I
all of these
know.
things. But I'm just watching time as well. I want to be considerate of your time. So is there anything, Jenny, that you're like, oh, I really wish, because I have two other questions, I really wish everyone would know X. And then I want to talk a little bit about how you work with people and how people can get connected with you as well. But is there something in your experience now over the past 6 years, what is it, 2026, the past 6 years that you have learned that you're like, oh, if I would have known this 5 years ago, my life would have been so much easier?
Truly, it comes down to the cruelty that, I'm sure you've heard it, Paul McCartney's famous quote that if slaughterhouses had windows, everyone would be, I think he said vegetarian, but in this context, same thing. However, vegetarian is full of cruelty. If you are a egg and dairy consumer, it's just the cruelty. We are shielded from it because it is so devastating. And yet, by being shielded from it, we contribute to it. So I feel like we have a duty to know where our food comes from. And if someone doesn't want to know, well, then I think there's some other perhaps personal growth that could be looked at. And look, most people I know are not vegan. So I'm speaking not just to masses, this is to my friends and family. People don't want to know, but if you want to be a conscious member of society, do you really want to walk around with fingers in the ear, la 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 la? It's, I think it's good to know. And if you choose to make certain decisions after you know, well, you're a well-informed consumer. And
Mhm.
I can't argue with that. But if there's one thing I wish people knew is where their food came from.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And I'm with you on that. So how do you work with people? Are you working with people who are still eating a traditional American diet and then or a traditional diet? I just want to say American. Um, and wanting to transition? Are you working with people after they transition? Like where's your sweet spot? Like what do you like doing the most? And how are you working with your clients?
Yes. Okay. So the short answer is yes. All of those things. I do. So people have to want some kind of change.
Right.
And so, I mean, it's called the flirty vegan because you're flirting with this idea. So if you're walking around again like that person who wants to sit in the lazy chair, binging TV, maybe playing some online poker and drinking beer and eating fast food, that's not someone who is going to hire necessarily. I shouldn't say they won't, but that's not the ideal clientele for the personal trainer or the health coach, unless they get so fed up with themselves that they want to make a change. But typically, the people who I communicate with are poking around options. They've heard about plant-based from, that article in Cosmo or something. They've heard about it, they see it slapped on the front of a bunch of products. So it's more often a health approach, but assuming your audience is comprised of people who've tried a diet or two in their lifetime, uh, diets don't work because they feel punishing. They feel
Hmm.
like we're in the grips of something outside of us, which is why if you can get into the ethics of veganism, well, then making health changes is easy because it's that self-love, it's that joy, it's that spiritual component. If you're just looking to drop a couple pounds and you think going vegan is the answer, um, again, we can all go on a diet. Anyone can, do a crash diet or lose 10 pounds. That's not the thing.
Hmm.
If you're looking
Hmm.
for sustainable health, if you're looking for a lightness to your spirit, then I'm much more likely to have success with you. But,
Awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. And we're speaking the same language in terms of, yeah, it's not a diet. It is choices. And I think it's an actually pretty freeing choice.
Oh,
So there are so many options then when
but
you are living into your values. And so if your value is non-cruelty, then the world opens up in terms of options that you have.
yeah.
So when people work with you, is it like more specifically, then do you have a program or is it individual coaching? What does that look like
Yeah,
for you?
yeah. So I definitely encourage individual work because people have individual
Mhm.
approaches and you're going to get more attention one-on-one. So I do have packages for individuals. Um, I did a what do we call it? Like a first round of a virtual group
Mhm. Mhm.
program that I ran from January into February, and that went really well. And I'd love to do that again, where we just kind of hit on a bunch of topics related to plant-based nutrition, the benefits, health issues, diseases, socializing, kind of wrapping your whole being around this concept. So there's group program options. I've done a lot of workshops, both in person and virtual. So that's a fun option. So if people have community groups who, my garden club wants to learn more about this, yes, I love opportunities to connect with groups who are curious, open-minded.
Yes, love it. Curious, open-minded. And besides then the Flirty Vegan, is that how do they get a hold of you? So they listen to your, for sure they need to go listen to your podcast. And how do they, where else do they find you?
Yep. Well, if they went to the podcast, then the show notes have links to everything. Or if someone went directly to Instagram, which is just the Flirty Vegan, all the links are in the bio. And then if they went to my website, the Flirty Vegan, everything is accessible from there. So, everything connects out to each other.
You are the Flirty Vegan everywhere people want
Yes.
to look for that. I will make sure to put all of those links in the show notes. Any last thoughts? Anything that you want to leave the audience with today, Jenny?
Ah, I know you said you don't want to be pushy, and of course, I don't ever want to be pushy or judgy or come across that way. I I just would really invite people to open up to the possibility of this life. I didn't mention this earlier, but before COVID, I actually had a home-based bakery for 10 years. So I loved sweet. I love sweets and I baked sweets every single day. So I have a sweet tooth. I do appreciate when someone says, "Oh, but you're vegan, so now you can't have chocolate cake or you can't have ice cream or you can have brownies." No, you can have everything. And it tastes so much better because no one had to die for me to eat that. And so I just would really invite people to consider a life led by compassion.
I think that is a beautiful way to end that. I love the invitation. I hope many of you accept the invitation and at least go check out the Flirty Vegan. Again, thank you, Jenny, so much for being here today. I loved our conversation. And for the audience, remember, I am Rachel. And from my heart to yours, I am celebrating you today and every day. So have fun, live well, enjoy.
Thank you.